In the fireside chat, we just heard from Her Excellency Mama Netumbo Nandi Ndaitwa. So this panel brings together, as you can see and appreciate, former African women leaders, formidable leaders, to reflect on their contribution to peace, security, and women's inclusion in governance, bringing insights from contexts marked by transitions, reconstruction, and reforms. Through their personal experiences and collective wisdom, the panelists, our leaders, will focus or will discuss leadership approaches and actions and explore how the institutional legacies and lasting impact of their contributions can be leveraged during and beyond their time in office to strengthen the women, peace, and security agenda across the continent. And lastly, the discussion will underscore the true leadership extends beyond one's time in office. They will highlight how the legacies of women leadership continue to shape Africa's peace and security and the landscape. Embedded in strengthened institutions, inclusive policies, and improved communities, by connecting these legacies to ongoing action, the conversation will reaffirm the enduring influence of women leaders in building a more peaceful, equitable, and resilient Africa. Excellencies, after that pitch, allow me to put to you, I know, Excellency, Mama Zeudi was telling me, I hope I'm not the first. I want to put you on the spot, but I've been guided, and I will stick to my script, that I should start with Your Excellency Mama Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, former President of the Republic of Liberia. Mama, you go first. Karibu sana. The question, Mama, as a trailblazing woman or woman who was the first to hold the highest office in your country, what were your aspirations for peace and national building, and what leadership approaches did you adopt to navigate gender barriers, whether political, social, or institutional? Mama, we want to hear from you. Karibu sana, as we say in Tanzania.
Thank you. You know, Her Excellency, the President, said it all. And I hope that all the young people in this audience and the young people out there in Radio Land will take some notes on the things she said. I'll be very brief. She started out by saying, know your beginnings. Know where you start from. Your own family environment, because that establishes for you the value, the aspirations to go forward. She said, strength through resilience. Focus on what you want, but go to it and be prepared that there will be obstacles, where you can overcome those obstacles by your determination. She said, teamwork. You don't know it all. Listen to others, learn from others, teach others. That's teamwork. She said it all. She also said, and that's your legacy issue, you must be able to come together and realize that if you want a future, you've got to prepare others so they can take over. And that legacy is that because you've been successful to achieve what you have, now pass the baton. Prepare the others who will take it from you, and they can carry it on. For me, the thesis was there. The thesis has been made. You need to just put it now together. But to answer your question.
Yes, Mama. Yes.
To answer your question, my situation was a bit different because I took office after 2 decades of civil conflict and civil destruction, infrastructure discussion, institutional dysfunctioning. And how do you rebuild on that? Of course, I brought to it, like Her Excellency the President, some of those characteristics that build a record. The one of being part of activism for a long time, taking positions, learning, sharing, teaching, and being able to then take the leadership position that you've been blessed with by your citizens and supported by your international partnerships, is to then build a legacy, in our case, of peace. Because of the conflict, because trauma of our young people had not been addressed, it was a question of doing that. But also, again, realizing that it's the young people who will be the determinants of the success in the future, is to make sure you identify those young people who had not only the capabilities, the determination, but those who represented the kinds of values that will enable them to carry the task. And in looking for it all, what would bring it all together was to ensure that you build leadership. that leadership that you personally did through example, leadership that came from giving others the opportunity, like the President said, to shine, to be ready for succession. And so I believe, in closing, that, again, I will point to what Her Excellency said, that those of us who have been favored with leadership have a responsibility. The responsibility now is to prepare the younger people and to take that responsibility through the organizations in which we now hold leadership position and in which we support, like Alwyn,
Yes.
is to now use our own experiences, our own examples, our own abilities to now reach out and to bring together a momentum of expanding the view with one common theme through it all, that to get the future of Africa moving, one needs to build in our younger people the leadership of example and responsibility. And that is our responsibility if we're going to to ensure women are the major changes in our own future aspiration, is the promotion and protection of women. And as you say, the ones that you can depend on to change the values, to change the modus operandi, and to achieve the results. Thank you, Mula.
Thank you very much, Mama. You have heard. We have to change the modus operandi to bring change. Mama, you have actually, Your Excellency, you have actually, maybe you have won the test because you have also answered my second question. So now allow me to call on Her Excellency Mama Sahelization Zeudi. Mama Sally, again, I want to put to you, as a trailblazing woman who was the first president of the Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, you came in not at easy times, you persevered, you succeeded. So I would like you to share with this audience. First of all, when you came in, what were your aspirations for peace and nation building? And secondly, Your Excellency, what leadership approaches did you adopt to navigate gender barriers, whether political, social, all institutions, all the above? Thank you, Your Excellency. I'd like to hear from you.
Thank you very much, my sister. I would like to really express the feeling that is in me in being today in Namibia. We shouldn't be anywhere else. Her Excellency, the President herself embodies really what this country has done to be where we are today in terms of women, peace, and security. But there is a lot in front of us, but this should have been done. And congratulations to you, my sister Liberata, for being where you are today, because this is a position that you really, truly deserve. Mine is different because in Ethiopia we have a parliamentary system. So the position of a president normally should be outside politics, meaning it's above the fray. It's above the political divisions that you have to maintain that stability of the country. And any high position holders are elected by parliament, the representative of the people, in other words. So it came to me as a complete surprise. I didn't lobby or what for it, coming from a whole career in diplomacy, both national and international. But as you said, we were at the beginning of a new transition. When I was called in, we were okay, but later on, unfortunately, I had to oversee a very difficult situation. But as a premonition, when I was sworn in my speech of exactly 18 minutes, I mentioned the word women and peace 25 times in equal measures for both. As if it shows my commitment to both. In the UN, I've been on peace and security practitioner in position and so on. But as fate has it, I had to oversee a very bloody internal conflict in my own country. So what I did really was, in terms of leadership, and what we have to do is to remain the symbol of unity of the country. That's the glue. A head of state is a glue that keeps the country together. Because we had an internal, it's among ourselves, the fighting, that we cannot be divided and should not be allowed to be divided on ethnic, religious, or whatever lines. Ethiopia is one, and we should come together. So, as a symbol of unity, and as a bridge builder in any sense, but also as a person who will give courage to anyone who comes, towards peace, towards finding solutions. So I used everything, as Her Excellency, the President of Namibia earlier said, tenacity is very important. You should not, be destabilized each and every moment. That's very important. Second, the power that you have is to shed light on issues and say as they are. In all what I did, I preached the fact that in any given country, an internal conflict, there is no victory in an internal conflict because you kill your brother at the end of the day. We have to be very cautious of that fact. So, pushing towards embracing more peaceful means of dealing with issues, encouraging others to work at the grassroots. Those institutions that form, insider mediators at the grassroots levels, because those people have seen this coming long time ago. Things can also be prevented. But the leadership is the one that you have, which sticks to your values. You shouldn't be, getting away from there. To remain true to yourself. You believe in one thing, you have to remain true. And whatever happens, that would, at the end of the day, I found it to be very important. You have to show that I chose empathy over anything else. I don't think this is a weakness. You have to be to show that sentiment when there is something terrible going on in your country and elsewhere. Empathy is for those who die for no reason, I would say. To be yourself an example, to show that a woman can do it. I'm here, whether you like it or not, those who don't like it. but we will have to compose. This is also, at any moment, I will not forget to remind people that I'm here, I will not have a president or what, and so on, and to have this authority that you have to assume. You don't have to shy away on that. If you can't do it, use it really the fullest. So those were really, so that at the end of the day, people do not say, we have given the chance for a woman. She has been the first woman president here, and look at the results. So we have to always be on our guards so that, we, in every step that we do, we succeed in what we do. Thank you.
You heard that you have to remain a leader, hold on to the leadership, and be yourself. Whether they like you or not, you are the president. I remember my president, Her Excellency Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan, in her maiden speech, after she was nominated as president, she said, I am the president of the United Republic of Tanzania, who happens to be a woman. So now, let me turn to Her Excellency Mama Catherine Samba Panza. Son Excellence, je vous salue. Mama Panza, I put the same question to you. As a trailblazing woman who was the first to hold office during the transition period in your country, Central African Republic, you were given the responsibility that was not easy to steer the country through that transition, and you did well, I must say. So my question to you too, we'd like to hear from you, Your Excellency. First of all, what were your aspirations for peace and national building in Central African Republic, knowing the time that you took leadership? And what leadership approaches did you adopt, given again the situation that was prevailing in your country? But 3, how did you navigate the gender barriers, whether political, social, or institutional? And I always say for the women leaders in Africa, the barriers are not the glass ceilings, but they are the wooden ceilings. So tell us, Your Excellency, how you are able to navigate through those barriers. Thank you. Vous avez la parole, Son Excellence.
Merci beaucoup, Madame. Permettez-moi, avant de répondre à votre question, d'exprimer ma gratitude, ma profonde gratitude à Madame la Présidente de la République, au gouvernement de Namibie, bien pour l'accueil chaleureux, particulier, qui nous a été réservé depuis notre arrivée hier, moi-même et ma suite. Cela dit, je pense que mon expérience... Je suis arrivée à la tête de l'État de la transition sans provenir des milieux politiques. Je suis un pur produit de la société civile qui s'est toujours battue pour la défense des droits de l'homme des droits des femmes et surtout pour protéger les femmes, protéger les enfants. Et je suis un pur produit également du secteur privé où je travaillais dans la rigueur et où j'avais une carrière assurée. Mais tout en étant dans le secteur privé et tout en étant dans la société civile, je m'impliquais dans toutes les questions de paix, de sécurité, de réconciliation, de négociation, de médiation au niveau national. Donc je suis venue pour mon activisme dans ce secteur, dans ce domaine. Et puis, j'ai eu mon expérience à la Bangui.
Excusez-moi, Son Excellence, il n'y a pas de traduction.
Mes excuses, Excellence, on ne reçoit pas encore la traduction.
Now, it is one? It is one now. Okay, yes, now we can, yes.
Je reprends.
Allez-y, Excellence.
Je reprends. Désolé. D'accord. Je disais donc à Madame l'ambassadeur Moula de me permettre de remercier Madame la présidente de la République de Namibie, le gouvernement namibien et le peuple namibien pour l'accueil qui nous a été réservé, ma suite et moi-même, depuis hier, depuis notre arrivée. Cela dit, je voudrais, en répondant à la question de l'ambassadeur Moula, dire que je suis arrivée à la tête de l'état de la transition sans provenir de milieux politiques. Je n'avais aucun... En 2014, de la transition. J'étais un pur produit de la société civile où j'étais très impliquée pour la défense et la protection des droits des femmes et des enfants et des droits de l'homme en général. Et puis je suis arrivée à la mairie de Bangui dans un contexte où la ville de Bangui était en pleine détresse et où les communautés étaient en pleine détresse et avaient besoin d'être accompagnées. J'ai accompagné les communautés, j'ai accompagné la population, notamment les femmes et les enfants, à cette période particulière où la transition était vraiment peinée à avancer. Et les femmes, ce sont les femmes. Et là, je voudrais dire, quand on dit que la femme est l'ennemi de la femme, ce n'est pas mon cas. Ce sont les femmes qui sont venues à moi et qui m'ont dit, Madame Samba Panza, la situation est dramatique. Le pays va vers le chaos. Les hommes ont essayé de diriger le pays à travers plusieurs transitions. Ça n'a pas marché. Nous ne voulons plus avoir une expérience d'homme à la tête de l'état de transition. Nous voulons une femme. Et compte tenu de votre expérience, Madame Samba Panza, nous voulons que vous vous présentez pour mener la transition.
The end, because there was still 2 years remaining before the end of the transition period. I felt called out given the hardship and given the violence as well as the hate that existed within the community. And I felt led to answer and say yes by saying we will go, we lead, but women and the youth have to accompany me.
À la paix, pour faire des marches, pour faire des prières. Aidez-moi.
And prayers. And they said, Madam Samba Panza, we are in agreement and we will accompany you. That is how I ascended at the National Council of Transition, which is the National Assembly of the Transition. And I won over the men that were there, and we were many candidates, and I won. But everything is not about the victory that I obtained. I ascended to the helm of a country that was totally down. There was no economy, there was no army, there was no administration, there were humanitarian priorities, there were security-related priorities. Everything needed to be done all over again. So where to start from in that desert area? And I could only rely on the international community who could give us funds because the countries, the national accounts were empty. So I had to meet the various antagonists of this crisis, of that crisis, to reflect on measures to exit this crisis. So I've used dialogue as my main weapon for my governance. I have made consensus the main modus operandi to find solutions on important questions of the nation. I called on socio-political actors and we thought together. I felt because there were armed groups that were very powerful, we had political parties that were fighting to take back power. I felt that my political leadership as a woman may have been affected. So I have positioned myself as a head of state, mother of the nation, who spoke a language of peace and gathered everyone around her. That was a strategy that worked. I was called everywhere I was being called as mother of the nation everywhere, so that every time I had a message, I could express them easily. I have involved in this transition governance all the various regions of the nation, so that no one would feel left out or forgotten. So within the government, all the regions were represented. However, I needed to have at least 30% of women in the government. That was an issue because we were in a very delicate period, because all the other antagonists had to be represented within the government. And I could already have 9 positions for women. That was an issue. First of all, we had the Prime Minister and also with the other armed groups. I insisted and I was able to obtain 9 women in my government. And this was not just women to be there or to fill a position. We had women at economies, education, defense, at important positions. People were looking at us by saying, will these women take this, will these women be able to hold on? I've asked this woman to hold on and to work according to these responsibilities that I gave them. If a similar experience is going to happen in Africa, they can use us as reference and say women succeeded in Central Africa Republic. And in moments of discouragement, I thought of every African woman and I said, I have to hold on and I have to continue moving forward. And I said, I will not give up and women have to go forward. That is how we were able to hold a referendum for us to go back to order, because that was the main objective of the transition, to hold elections, because that was amongst the objectives of the transition periods, to relaunch the administration within the country, not totally, but at least partially, and also to relaunch the economy, but most importantly, to implement a national dialogue. The citizens of Central Africa had to speak amongst them, and we had to also have a national dialogue. The other dialogue that took place in Central African Republic came from the high level to the lower level. So we chose some representatives of socio-political forces, and we put them together to have dialogue. I've said no. We are going to go in every corner of Central Africa Republic. We send a mission in every village, in every department, to ask what does Central African citizen want? What do they want? What is their vision for the next 5 years? How do they want to implement a sustainable politic to get out of the crisis with the support of various partners of the UN and with the African Union Commission, and also with our own means. We went around the country. We have obtained the visions of these Central African Republic citizens, and it is their vision that was part and parcel of the architecture that we were able to develop the constitution that was presented to the people through the vision that we obtained from the grassroots population. We developed a constitution, a new constitution, and we were able to come back to order. The African Union that excluded us because of the coup that took place also reviewed the situation, and also the other institution that excluded us. After we came back to order, these same structures helped us to organize our elections, to be able to put in place new institutions. Thus, we had to have a strategy that could allow us to be accepted. My political leadership as a woman was constantly questioned. Political parties did not consider me as a true head of state. In fact, our constitution never gave me the title of President of the Republic. I had the title of head of state. I was not elected, so I could not have the title of President of the Republic. But for me, it was enough for me to be known as head of state, and it had allowed me to do the work in terms of all the responsibilities that I had. So this is what I can say. So now I'm done in terms of transition. I respected my engagements as it was stipulated in the documents, not to be a candidate for the elections. We respected the words that we spoke. It is important to respect the words spoken. And after the transition period, I told myself there is life after power. There is life after power. I came back to my first love in terms of civil society, and I continued going around with Africa Union, United Nations, across Africa to share my experience as a political woman. So that is how with other institutions and with Mama, Sister Liv, that brought me into her foundation, we started training future women leaders. I was together with Excellency the President Amuje. I was together with her in Liberia. We tried to bring our experience to others. We have the responsibility to share our experience, our challenges, the solutions that we have found with other women, but most importantly, to pass them to the new generation. There were therefore various intergenerational meetings where we met with young people who asked us, how did you start? There They wanted to know, you look beautiful in these beautiful dresses. Have you always had this? We said, no, we came from poor backgrounds. We studied, we fought for what we have today. So you can also fight and you can be able to attain to it. That is what I can share with you in terms of experience sharing. And in concluding, I always went out of the country to share my experience. I decided to create a foundation in my country. I created a foundation, Catherine Samba Panza, for women in my country, in which I'm involved since a year ago now, where I also try to bring something to women in terms of leadership, in the area of capacity building, in terms of political leadership, in the area of WPS, Women, Peace and Security, in the area of education, knowledge of their rights. So I'm very busy right now with my foundation. It is a foundation for Central African Republic, but with various ramifications across Africa. This is what I can say.
You have all heard. What an experience. Oh, I don't have my... Yeah, sorry. Thank you, Madam President. You have had that experience. We have also heard how she was able to challenge the stereotype that's always out there, that women don't like each other. But also more important, she's mentioned what is in the title. She didn't care that she was not addressed as a president, but as head of state. But more important, you are a mother of the nation. Congratulations, Mama. Now, get ready to hear from Mama Pumzile Mlambo Nguka. Mama Pumzile, I'm putting to you a similar question. As a trailblazing woman who was the first to be the deputy vice president of the Republic of South Africa, we are also from you. What was your experience in terms of, course, national building? How did you explore the gender barriers, both political, social, and institutional? Karibu Mama Pumzile.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ambassador Mula, my president. Thank you for inviting us to be here at the United Nations. It was after a genocide in Rwanda, in Bosnia, and generally the world was not in a good place. But the presence of these resolutions and the many others that came after it began to normalize the situation, but not far enough, obviously. But now with 25 years, we've come full circle into a situation where conflicts have erupted to such an extent that it seemed like we are at risk of going back to where we started. But now we know a lot about how we can position women in this fight. We know that when women participate in peacemaking, that peace is likely to be sustained. We also know that when peacekeepers include women and they are sent into a country, the conditions of the women in a country in conflict, it changes the situation of women. Women move from being afraid of the people who have come to keep peace in their country to have those people as friends, which is why I also want to thank many of the countries who have sent peacekeepers. I thank the women peacekeepers of Namibia and peacekeepers from all around the world. Yes, I think it's important to clap for them. But I do want to answer your question differently, not just about South Africa, also about the world. We now have seen the steepest rise in arms expenditure in the world. Right now, the world spends $2.7 trillion in arms. That is the highest number since the Second World War. That is a great concern. At the same time, 17% of women and girls live within 15 kilometers of armed conflict. So women and girls are at risk. And there are more women and girls who die in conflict, even though they are not in combat. And sexual violence has increased by 80%. So we certainly have to change the gears in our strategy to fight for peace and security, because we know so much now. We are much stronger than we were 25 years ago, and we are much more prepared. But the elephant in the room is the countries that make the Security Council. In the United Nations, you have got the General Assembly, which takes care of all matters of the United Nations. And then you have the Security Council, which is the highest body for peacekeeping in the world. And the countries that contribute most to the arms race right now are in the Security Council. That is the biggest tragedy of the world, that the keepers of peace are the ones that are causing wars. They make the arms, they sell the arms, they profit from arms. They then fight the wars, they attack countries, peaceful countries. So as we think about the anniversary of 1325, this, I feel, is what we have to think about in the bigger scheme of things. How do we change the world in such a way that the peace institution of the world, which is the Security Council, is not in the hands of people who are making arms and selling arms and increasing the number of arms we have in the world, everywhere in the world? That would be my contribution.
Thank you very much, Mama Pumzile, for bringing to our attention that stark reality. I remember when you were the ED of UN Women, you always reminded us that we should not speak from emotions, but from the facts. You have put the facts to us, the amount of money that is being spent on arms in trillions, while we always say the elephant in the room is the funding gap. But then you have brought a new elephant in the room that we have to deal with and focus. So my dear sisters and brothers, you have heard the experiences of our former presidents, the vice president. I didn't go to the second question because they have answered in the process the second question, because the second question was about when you are out your tenure as the end in the office. How do you continue to provide leadership in pushing this agenda, but also how do you mentor the young and the upcoming leaders? Maybe President Sally, you wanted to say something on this? no, because you have touched on this. But then as we were speaking, if you allow me, just less than 3 minutes, I got a message from the Rwanda delegation. Maybe because Mama Pumzile, you put it in the context of the genocide in Rwanda, 1994. But then they want to say in 2 minutes about from legacy to leverage. So if you allow, just give 2 minutes to Rwanda.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, President of the Republic of Namibia, Your Excellencies, distinguished leaders, a very good morning to you all. Thank you so much for giving me the floor. My name is Clémentine Mukeka, and I am Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Rwanda. Allow me to start by thanking our gracious host, the Republic of Namibia, for this very inspiring conversation and for your warm hospitality. And listening to the reflections of very powerful women, it has been very energizing and very humbling, and I thank you so much. Indeed, for Rwanda, this conversation is very personal because our journey has shown that when there is a genuine political will, the women, peace, and security agenda can move from practice to reality. And under the leadership of His Excellency President Paul Kagame, Rwanda has made a very clear choice. Rwandan women are at the front of our national recovery and decision-making bodies. Your Excellencies, today we are so proud that women in Rwanda host 64% of seats in the parliament. 64% in the parliament, nearly half of our cabinet are women in Rwanda. So, and the point is beyond numbers. It is about leadership, a leadership that listens, that empowers, and Rwanda today has emerged as a global leader in integrating women into peacekeeping roles as well. And this demonstrates that a strong commitment to gender equality and effective peace building can be achieved. So my simple and humble request is, as we move ahead in Africa in general, I think to sustain these achievements, we must empower and prepare the next generation of African women and girls, because we need to equip them with the knowledge, the confidence, and the tools to navigate a very changing world, from climate resilience and to peacekeeping. I thank you for your kind attention. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. We have heard that very impressive experience of Rwanda, having 64% of women in parliament, more than half in cabinet. But also, I know our president, Mama Netumbo Ndaitwa, you made the UN General Assembly stand in applause when you gave us the numbers of women in your government. So it can be done. So, Excellencies, I want to thank you so much. I know you had a lot to share, and we could be here until the next October as we celebrate maybe another 30 years. So you may agree with me that we have benefited a lot, that it can be done. And so for the men in the room, you have heard that when you want something done, in whatever circumstances, give it to a woman. But if you want it, well, maybe say it, give it to a woman. And never give up. And as they say, you lead without a title. And we have heard how these women have led without necessarily maybe having the right title. So, Excellencies, I want to thank you. I know it's been quite a day. And Your Excellency, President Netumbo, Ninda Mama, Ndaitwa, thank you for being there with us and for hosting us so well and giving us this opportunity. And I believe for the young women and men, boys, leaders, you have been inspired. You have been inspired that while we work on the legacy, you work on the legacy of these leaders, but you are the leveraging the future. Thank you very much. Asanteni sana.
Can we give them another round of applause, please? We will break for lunch. I believe our liaison officers are ready at the back and outside to accompany the guests to the 2 places that have been identified for lunch. Our distinguished guests in front have received invitations for lunch. The liaison office, your liaison office, plus the protocol officer will accompany you or to take you to the venue. The rest of the invited guests, protocol and other liaison officers are also outside to accompany you to a restaurant called Nomad. In case you get lost, ask where is the